Um, yeah, so regularly the members only community conversation part is not recorded, but me and my lack of accounting skills as we are on these and remembering what happened means that I've got to do it because we're raffling off. So David, the Swift, we're raffling that. And I don't know if Janice is probably not going to be able to join us this morning, which kind of sucks because that usually the paintings when they're dropped off at my house, they stack up in the living room or they stack up on top of a bookcase in the dining room until they go where they're supposed to. These two, I was like, yo, and you know what Janice Fleming's house looks like, right, David? You've seen the inside of her house?
No.
Looks like an art gallery.
She is a collector of the most beautiful, amazing art. Like she's a patron of some amazing artists.
Oh, you know what? You did give me some insight on to what her house looks like. I think you might have had like a meeting or so with her and like sent me over a photo.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's gorgeous. It's gorgeous.
Yeah, I just love and she loves the gloss of it. So like the fact that she's got that incredible, beautiful Ellis, what do you call it? Aryan painting in the guest bathroom downstairs and right. So it was, Janice, can I please store these at your house? Can you keep
these safe for me?
Yeah. So she's got those.
Oh, I'm honored. A special storage place. I love whenever you can have like a overflow of paintings be, in a museum. And you shouldn't downplay your collection either, Kimora. I love, the Basquiat that you have in the living room, and so it would have been great either way. But
yeah, Leah will tell you that my shining moment in life was when one of my paintings had to go off my wall to be in an exhibit, and I went and I've got a picture somewhere from the private collection of you can't tell me shit.
That's real.
No, this is my amazing original artwork created by one of the most. I'm like, yeah.
It's a private collection of Kimora.
That is right. So how did the calendar sales go? Tell me about that. And you want to talk about what the different paintings in there were?
Yeah, so they've been going really well. So I went with I've done it a couple years before, but I did like a classic kicks calendar. So I have like this shoe collection of Jordans and popular shoes and stuff. And I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna switch it up and really pay homage to iconographies, one, and then two, a lot of my closest friends and folks that I run into, they're like, your landscapes are beautiful. Do you have more? And so I'm like, well, yeah. So it was a way of kind of unleashing the versatility that I have in my portfolio, and enabling folks to kind of pick and choose collections or have multiple collections. So I have an iconographies and portraits one, which has Billie Holiday on the cover. It's got MLK kicking off in January, right? So that's his month. And then I have Obama for February, and there's Arthur Ashe in there. There's Nina Simone, and so and of course I had to have fun and playing with it, right? So because Nina Simone has these it has red and blue largely in it, but then ties in the Afrocentric colors of black, red, and green. I'm she's your courageous American figure, right? Black American figure. She is the heart, the soul, and the consciousness of our nation, and throws that out there, right? Much like yourself, Kimora. So
I love it.
Yeah, conscious of the nation. There you go.
Yeah.
Keep that one. Hold on to that one. I like that.
Yeah, Kimora, the conscious of the nation, right? And so, so I strategically place folks like that during 4th of July, right? But then I also have Marcus Garvey for Juneteenth, right? And the month of June. So kind of lining it up, I wanted to, pay homage to our our foundation of Black figures, right, that kind of paved the way and really are the testament to like perseverance and being the American dream, right? And so there's a calendar with that. Then you got the pretty landscapes and stuff that line up with the seasons. I have one that's all about like love and coming together. So that's the intimate expressions. And you have, like one of my popular paintings is of a silhouette of a guardian figure holding a baby, right? And then there being like these black roses coming up, and it's like a wash background, right? So there's pieces like that, one that's like talking about time and like loving through all seasons, and then like spread love is the cover, right? So it's this butter container that has like love, and it's like halfway spelled because it's turned a certain direction. And then there's like toast with the jelly heart in there. So that's another one. And then there's a mystery masterpieces, which kind of has all of them coming together. And so that if you can't choose one or the other,
right?
Right. There's also a floral calendar too, because Georgia O'Keeffe is like a huge influence on my art. So if you can't,
some of your landscape stuff.
Yeah.
Now that you say that, yeah.
Yeah. I love flowers, and they emit a certain like beauty, right? They have that flow to them, but then at the same time, it takes a lot of strength in order for that beauty to grow, right? So, so I have this this culmination of like all these pieces together. So they're kind of like flip to the next month and see what's awaiting you. So far the most popular have been on the landscapes, right? But then the portraits and the iconographies are right there with them. So a lot of folks have been really, championing that one and placing it up to, spread that awareness and make sure that they have that as like a cornerstone either in their office or in their home space.
And the awareness, like Marcus Garvey and Nina Simone, just those two right there, like there's an awareness that you bring to those figures that is missing in a whole lot of places, right?
Yeah.
And know that just as soon as I got the money to commission a thing, it's going to be commissioning the Josephine Baker. And I say that because Nina Simone, right, and I was very happy that people love her music, and her music is amazing. And the woman who is the activist and the angry lover, like fierce love is what I've been talking about, right? Like just fierce, aggressive love. And the fierce, aggressive love that the music is wonderful, and the music is the manifestation of that, right?
Yep.
And Marcus Garvey, again, the same thing, like fierce, aggressive love. His love for Black people and Blackness came across as this just like fierce, aggressive love.
Yeah. And the way that he trickles over, right? So how like Cornel West says, it's like, I got love for everyone, but it starts with like Black folk, right? It starts with my own people, right? And then it happens to like spill over, right? And that's okay to like own that, right? And to stand by that. I have a lot of love that spills over, hence, my white wife catches it, right? So it's like but she knows that like the cornerstone to like what I stand for and who I represent unabashedly within like my artistic skills and what I can bring to the table. There's this void that has to be overcompensated, and so figures like those that were just mentioned, there needs to be that light that's shown upon them, and also those dimensions to be explored on what does love look like at this, like this, right? It's okay to explore and to look at, okay, well, if Marcus Garvey was about, it's funny because the name of the work is called Separation of Nations. Although he was, talking about, creating like a neo-African type of community, it's about he still was able to speak with, members of like the KKK and like Nazis and stuff. And it's just like, look, we just need to have an understanding here that this is how it's going to go down. And as long as y'all respect us, then, we'll be all right. There won't be no problems if, you don't make nothing of it. Right. So, but, what does that look like in real time? Right. And so, those are like the things that I love to kind of bring forth, right? And because there's different nuances to what cooperation is, what love is, what justice is, right? And I think that we should be unabashed in exploring those.
Most definitely. Like and people are doing it. And I would say that the art that you create with us creates a place where that happens. Like you may or may not believe this, and if you can stay on afterwards when we bring in the larger community. And actually I can just, I think I will. Leah, do you know how to do? No, I've got to do the Facebook Live piece. So I'm going to open it up to the entire community pretty soon, because the painting that you did, Crickets to what's the full name of it?
Silence. Oh,
I'm going to say it now before we go on to Facebook Live, even though we're recording, but the one that we did for CCSU.
yeah.
They didn't pick up the painting. They don't want that painting. So I still have it.
I hear that. I bet they don't. I bet they don't. It's going to bug me if I don't get it. I got to plug in my flash drive to hunt down that name.
Yeah. So as folks are coming on, hello, beautiful members. I did say, and you can probably see up in the corner, and it should have said something before you came in. We're recording, so we don't usually record the members only conversation. We're recording, and I'm about to open this up on Facebook because one of the cool things is we decided that the end of the year, how do we practice Amani? How do we practice faith? How do we practice how do we practice all of the principles of Kwanzaa inside all that we do? Well, over the year, let me just shut up. You guys talk amongst each other, and I will open up Facebook so that I don't have to regurgitate and say the same thing twice. Not as well. So here we go. Evilise will be off and on camera. We understand. Hey, Bola, good to know you're here too. Live on Facebook.
Hi guys, how are you doing?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
I'm good.
Okay.
Evilise, Khalid, Robin, Natasha, Natasha. David, he's the artist.
Yes.
Yep.
Hi David, hi Jennifer.
Yeah, you know Jennifer.
Oh,
Yep, and I know Natasha. Yep.
You know them all.
I'm feeling that hat.
July we're not the only ones.
What?
Okay, wait.
Okay.
It's being live streamed. Got it. Okay, so now we're on Facebook. Life is great. Hello, Evilise. Hello, Bola. Hello, Jennifer. Hello, Robin. Hello, Kalik. David, Natasha, Leah. July, is my son awake yet?
No.
No, my son is not awake yet.
He is not awake.
It's all right. We got a conversation to do. And when he's awake, he's going to be awake. So
Yeah, he is. But I decided to open this up on Facebook Live to everyone. So see, I should also go back over there and put the link to this in so that if folks want to join us here, they can do that. So yeah, so do your introduction, say the things that you want to say again real quick while I do that part. Because I'm so technically advanced, and it is, what do you call it, Mercury retrograde in all the fun ways.
Oh, lovely.
Which is why if you were on already this morning and got kicked out and thought that I kicked you out for the fun of it, I didn't. You just kind of disappeared for a while, but now we're back.
how's Maine treating you, Natasha?
Beautifully,
Yeah, good.
like living in heaven up here.
Aww. I'm so happy to hear that. I'm so sad we don't get to see your face more, but I'm so glad that you're happy and feeling settled. And
I'll be down there in February.
oh, nice. Okay.
What part of Maine are you in? What part of Maine are you in, Natasha?
Portland.
Oh, nice.
The best place too.
We got a large community center up here that has got 8 different organizations working together for the gay
Wow.
community up here.
It's awesome.
There's mug right there.
Okay. I feel as if we are here and we've got everything going, which is great. Yep, I see us on my phone. Okay, so back and opening this up because so again, the year ends with Kwanzaa, and I've got a whole bunch of beautiful, interesting, complicated feelings about Kwanzaa, starting with how I feel about Karenga, to how I feel about hijacking the time between Christmas and New Year's where we're supposed to be asleep and resting, to how I feel about getting paid for Black shit, because that's kind of awesome, to et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right? So, and I used to say, like, I appreciated some of the ignorance of America. So like, as everyone's becoming woke, right, and we all have to do all of this work, I used to truly appreciate Juneteenth, because when people would come to me smiling, when, you know, good white progressive liberals would come smiling about Kwanzaa, I'd roll my eyes and be like, no, we don't need that made up shit, because we got Juneteenth, we got a real holiday, yeah! Right? And then fast forward and people decide that they want to celebrate Juneteenth, and I'm pissed about that shit too. So, but, right? So how do we practice inside of the work? And I want everyone to know, right? Like, for me, when I say that like all of the work has to line up in all of the ways, it does. And I drive myself up the wall. And David, when I said that, like, when I have the money and can commission from you, it will be my Josephine Baker. So I grew up in Hartford, Connecticut with Leaco Thompson at the Arts Collective. And he made sure that we had the history of everything as we did it. So like I remember when I was getting ready for my first Yabo, and one of the things that we had to do, those of us who were going to be maidens, we had to find a queen in Africa and we had to study her and come back on her, right? And I was me. And after he gave us the assignment, he pulled me and like gave me like through clenched teeth, made it quite clear that I had better not choose Cleopatra no matter what. I was not allowed to choose Cleopatra. I better choose a real queen and learn about a real queen, right? So, and so in this space, like learning about dance, learning about Afro-pyrogrammic movement in a way that made it very, very clear that the history of the human beings and the bodies that we're doing this, there's a lineage and there's some real stuff. And, you know, you're not just doing African dance because it's pretty and sexual, you're doing it because this is what we are and this is how we share our Afrocentric principles, et cetera, right? So Josephine Baker lived her principles and was a member of the French resistance and fucked shit up immensely. And to me, as I talk about, as I do this work, right, and live by my values and principles at all costs, there's beautiful documentary about her. And in there's her accountant explaining to her that she cannot continue doing what she does. And she says that she can't not, right? So like, as we do this and we do this work, there's, if you're using the words freedom fighter, right? So if you're a freedom fighter, if you're a teller of truth, if you're a warrior of justice and a flawed human being and all of that other good stuff, it's work and it's hard. And the way, going back to David, right? So going back to exactly where we were, the way that your art has portrayed the complexities of getting through this emotional thing, this human thing, in a way that we can connect and see what it really is, has been incredibly valuable. So again, knowing that I knew that I had the cricket piece, and there was a part of me that said at the end of the year, then maybe we want to auction off or, you know, raffle off the cricket piece, because I've got this beautiful piece of art that tells an amazing story. And I do want you to share that story. So we're going to get to that, right? So I've got this amazing piece of art that tells this story, and perhaps, you know, so I will raffle that one off because it allows us to practice cooperative economics. It allows us to practice, it allows us to practice all of the different principles of Kwanzaa, right? But then we had the Swift gig, and the Swift gig allowed me Imani, right? The Swift gig allowed me faith. So in the work that we do, I provide, honestly, what you see is not what you get. And David is going to tell you a little bit about what you get that you don't see, right? And those are these cultural humility workshops and trainings where we really take human beings and groups and organizations on journeys of self-exploration and education and collective cooperative learning and growth and healing. to get to places where we need to be. And most of the time those costs, you know, so if someone hires me, there's an extra $500 charge to bring on a healing artist, and that person comes in and the piece of art is created, the healing artist interprets what the training is. And then, you know, we threes, because Trinity's, she's, you know, again, all of it and everything, but there's the three, right? So the organization that hired us, they get the physical piece of art, unless for some reason they don't want the piece of art. And David is going to talk about the Cricut piece that organization chose not to claim, but that organization gets the physical piece of art, and then the artist, the KCC, and the organization gets digital rights, right? So that this is a piece of art that describes a journey that different people can interpret differently and share. And so there we're allowed to practice cooperative economics, et cetera, et cetera. But the Imani in the gig that we did with Swift Factory. So Swift is over here in the north end of Hartford, saying that they're going to build, you know, through community, create hubs where community members can come build their businesses, get support others, support a community. All this work can go on there. I'm skeptical, as I always am, and willing to step in and stepping in to work with and be a part of what is there for my community. And so we were invited to come to a piece there. And do like really, I did, if you've done workshops with us, you know, bingo, we did a nice bingo around. It allowed people to go meet vendors and all that good stuff. And I hired David, and that was the KCC hiring David, saying, hey, come on and create this beautiful piece of art. And there's going to be a beautiful piece of art that discusses and shares, like, I don't know what's going to happen with the Swift Factory. And whoever it is who owns this piece of art, you're going to get an artist statement. You're going to get the letter from the KCC. And 50 years from now, 20 years from now, 10 years from now, 5 years from now, let's talk about this piece of art and how it was created and what we believed and what we thought was happening as it was created and where we're going, right? And so David created this piece of art. And so here we are, it's the end of the year. We're practicing Imani. Today is Nina. Today is a day for us to think about what our purpose is personally and collectively. And we're about to wrap this up. So decided in November, right? So decided in November, I'm going to start, you know, open up the raffle. So everyone who joins the KCC between now and the end of the year, you're going to get, you know, you're going to get a chance at this raffle to get this beautiful piece of art. And I feel great because 24 people joined us. And that's awesome. And the cool thing is, so I've got people who came to the actual community conversation that we had in December. You all put your names on these envelopes. I wrote them out. So there are all of these in here. I've got everyone's name here on these pieces of paper, and we'll pull a few people because we got a couple other things. But the cool thing about that is there's a bunch of names up there that I don't know. And that's, you know, that's awesome. There's a couple names there that I'm kind of surprised about. So Leah got an earful about one of those this morning. It's like, you know, this feels good, because that show and prove place is incredibly important. And people who are members and have been members for a minute, y'all know 2022 kicked my ass. We had some setbacks. We learned some lessons, right? And we're here, and we're gonna keep doing this, and we're gonna do and be. But I want David to talk a little bit about the work that he's done. So if you could talk about Cricut. So again, this Black Art Heals, if you could start talking about what the work in these engagements have been, because I know very often people will say, so you do live painting. Well, yeah, we have a live painting, but that's not what it is. So as the human being who is tasked with this, what I feel is like incredible, blessed, you know, blessed artistic soul work, what is it that you do as a healing artist, and what have you done with us?
Thank you. Thank you for such a loaded introduction, Kamora. You know, so in what you described, right, in the task at hand is exactly like you, in true in nature and who you are. You held it was no holds barred. It was very transparent. It was, you know, something that I was intrigued by, right? It's like, I'm one of those super methodical artists who I love to, and like most artists, I really like to, you know, I'm a ultra introvert, right? And so I like to be in my own element. But there's been times where I stepped out, and especially like doing like paint nights and stuff like that, interacting, engaging with folks and feeding off of that, right? So this was like that on steroids, like, right? So to be able to, and I pride myself in like listening, right? true to being an artist, I feel that I'm a vessel, right? So I'm talking about purpose and Nia, right? I'm tasked with taking my environments in contemporary times, but also having the knowledge to what I know, right, currently, and kind of intermixing those, but really to be a mirror to those that are in the room and what I am absorbing, right? And so, shoot, it might have been, I'm trying to think if this institution if that was the first engagement that I did. I think
Was that the first one? I don't want to say it was, but it may have been. And I'm sorry if I jumped you in like that.
Let me look
Ouch.
real quick. Actually, yes, it was. So, am I allowed to mention their names?
Yeah.
Okay,
Baptism by fire. Yep.
Cool. So over at CCSU, I was invited in, by Kimura to be a healing artist, right? And so originally it's supposed to take place on campus, but it ended up going to be facilitated through Zoom, right? And so folks within this class, they were they were told to come together in order to discuss, the I guess the lack of fairness that was taking place. What I think we came to understanding, Kamori, correct me if I'm wrong, but it was supposed to be just about the environment, largely either throughout campus or really within this classroom, right? But it took a turn when it was really brought on, ironically, the professor that had it take place, it ended up turning into, I guess you could call it almost like a witch hunt or so. It ended up turning into, talking about like her, right? But then kind of gleaning on the fact that largely within the institution's community, it's been, it's kind of been like a rinse and repeat situation where people were students, right, would voice their issues, and then it would either fall on deaf ears, or if it got pushed up the ladder, to administration, they would have some way to like sweep it under the rug and then move on, right? Oh, well, we did this, kind of that same old, either on face value, we're doing something about this, we hear you, but this is what we have and this is the answer, and then keep it moving, right?
We hear you, nothing's going to change, but we hear you, and that needs to be enough.
Yep, exactly. So it really snowballed into, okay, well, we understand that this is what's going on. So the name of the piece is actually called Passive Resilience. It's called Cricket's Collateral, right? So and Kimura, I'm not sure if you want me to like share it or so.
Yeah, actually, come over here. Let me make you a co-host so that you can share it. Great. Yeah, you're the co-host now, so you can share that. And it is beautiful. And it is, honestly, that one lives downstairs, and we talk about that often. Folks come by. I love to look at it, and I love discussing the journey.
Oh, wow.
Get everybody see that okay?
Yeah.
So
Amazing.
thank you. So, but it was tough, right? Because everyone has their own perspective that they're sharing. And it really started off with what's going on within the classroom, and Kimura really raised, just the way that she masterfully navigated the conversation, right? But also held folks accountable, right? And I mean, for a good amount of time, it was silent. But, you know, like true leaders do, they can sit comfortable within that silence and they say, hey, this is about y'all, right? If you want some change, if you want real change and you want to be heard, then you have to speak up. You have to voice, even if it might be cluttered, even if it's hard to articulate your thoughts, throw it out there, because if it's a true testament to what's going on and to how you feel, then other people will grasp that, right? And you know, even me as a visual artist, and expressing myself, right? As if you guys can't tell, sometimes I could be jumbled in thought, right? And so it takes a little bit to pull it out. I'm also long-winded because I want the context of what I'm saying to be thoroughly emitted and then hopefully received in the way that I intended to. But you can't control the way that people receive things, right? So there's those pieces also, but it allows us to really form as a community and bounce off of each other. So largely what this piece represents is we talk about, you know, the crickets collateral, right? So you see these crickets on opposite ends of the piece that are kind of talking to each other in megaphones. And these are some of the you know, underlying, the undercutting microaggressions that we might all go through within society, but largely in higher ed, right? That it can take place, right? And so, you know, going back to the origins of higher ed, we had this discussion about like what it can do, right? How it can silence or how it kind of forces you to speak like a coded language at times, but we really know what it's getting at. And to those that are affected by it, you really get, you feel like 1,000 paper cuts that are taking place and you're slowly bleeding out essentially, right? And I think those that have been marginalized across the world, like that's what you feel. And so when you're in environments that are set up that weren't necessarily designed for you, which as a Black male, that's pretty much anywhere that I go, right?
Mhm.
So you have to face those things. And so
And that ends up being a hard part in the trainings. And this is where I say, quite honestly, this is where having the healing artist in there allows, like we talk about those pregnant pauses and allowing folks to just step into this other way of communicating that doesn't have words, this other thing that we can jump in and sit in. But when we get to these places, very often in the workshops, there's that palpable place of, oh shit, I can't fix this thing. I thought we were going to come together and fix this thing. I knew that we were going to be able to point it out and it was going to go away. And, you know, in higher ed, this is like, this was one of those where, dude, it lives here. And in order for you to be successful here, you have to be complicit in some overt racism, in some covert racism and isms. And that is a really hard part. And David, you're starting to get there, but that is again, when we talk about what is it we do and what that application is, I don't think anyone ever feels good inside of their body when they realize that in order to do this thing that they know is going to make the world better, they've got to practice an ism that they fundamentally disagree with.
Yep. Amen. You know, and thank you. See, you poignantly express everything that I'm trying to get to, right? And what this piece captures, right? So that's why you see like a volcano in the background, like, right? That's that pressure, that's that feeling that's starting to kind of bubble underneath that essentially is going to either explode or implode, right? And then it's cast into the sky, right? There's that smoke and that smog that it can go into the darkness or it can come to light, right? So you have interpretation in there. There's truth that's fragmented over into by the light, but then there's this very demonic like moon back there almost, right? That's an eclipse over the the light over the sun, right? Which is like kind of hiding the truth, which a lot of places will try to mask, right? And so that's that moon mask that's covering over that sun, and we're anchored by it, right? So that's why there's that unity in the middle. It talks to that complexity of how you go through those emotions to get there, right? And exercise, what are you going to own, and how and what pieces are you going to change, right? In order to get there. And so, you know, in the middle ground, you have academia and institution is on sleek ice, right? Because there's always ways, and that's what we found, you know, talking to this class, is that a particular student, she was raising issues with the instructor, and you know, had to go into like legal, there was legal ramifications that she was, you know, a part of. And you know, what does that look like, and what does it look like as an individual, or even for folks in different, and you know, really I can't even say like lower middle socioeconomic status, because it's really just low and high class, right? But when you have, you know, when you have everyday folks that are just like, you know, I need justice for this taking place, and then you're met with resistance and also a force of legality, right? And the force of like lawyers that can like wipe you out, like you could do whatever you want, but at the end of the day, they have the power and the extensive monies in order to get it swept under the carpet. So this is talking about like the ivory tower that you see in the back, and that's why there's like caution tape over mixed in with like higher ed over that that ivory tower back there. And then in the foreground, you have, you know, the scapegoat, right? That is observing it all, looking to insert themselves. Leadership's in the dirt. There's not like a straight and narrow path on there. That's why you have like crooked lines down there over the paved, although it's like there's paved roads, and to get to, you know, to do what higher ed's supposed to do, right? Theoretically, and kind of be the grand equalizer, so that folks can you know, figure out their purpose and get an education, and, you know, and be contributing components of society. It's not a straight and narrow path, right? And so that's why you have that path in the forefront, but then towards the back, you have a dirt road, and then you also have a volcanic road that is coming down from that background there. And then up front, you have like a dunce hat, right? Of those that play dumb in order to placate and keep that same scenario and the same conversation going. That's like, you know, oh, well, you know, pointing fingers at who's responsible and who's not, right? It's much like that Spider-Man meme that's going around that would go around on like who's responsible for what, right? And that's why you have like those burning excuses in the middle there. So this is what happens when silence kind of bubbles, and where there's real stuff that's taking place, and nobody's really calling it out for what it is, and then not putting in the work in order to gain a sense of equity and equality, especially within higher ed. And it showed during this, my very first healing artist commitment, but it was great. I love to jump into the volcano, no pun intended there, right? And to, you know, hopefully bring something that's a value and different to the conversation, right? On what's really going on.
And you did, and you do. And I want to share in this one as we were talking about, okay. Oh, that's what happened. You just said,
Yeah, I just took it away.
I was gonna, no, are we losing everyone again? No. Okay, good. We didn't lose everyone again. Good. But in that engagement, one of the things that was beautiful was that as it was happening, there were people who were talking about what you were creating as it was happening. And that allowed places for those not fun things to happen in the conversation to be pushed forward a little bit. And so we did that. It was great. And this is another place we're going to talk about that faith piece, right? Because I know that people in that who took part in that workshop were changed, and the way that they approach, and these are people who are on the cusp of getting their doctorates, and these are people who, you saw the little sign in there, you know, ICE was in there in the middle, because immigration is a big deal. And if you're working, you know, if you're working in ESL, you need to be prepared to know that ICE, in many times and places, you're going to be at tables where you are going to be on the same side as ICE. And you are going to be asked to represent, because that's where we are. And that created a place where some people in that class, I know some people changed the way they were looking at what their profession was going to be. But for quite a few folks, it was that wonderful aha moment. So when we talk about privilege, and we talk about privilege of knowledge of self, and how, so David has heard this because he's been in the workshops, and other people have as well. We don't talk about white privilege. We understand that that's a nice euphemism for white supremacy. But there's this privilege and knowledge of self, and a huge gift that folks in that class received. And some folks in that class do have, well, I think everyone got a copy of it electronically afterwards, because after the training, you know, there's a bibliography, there's a, this is where we think they're going, and then there's the painting that goes along with it. And in that class, though, I do know that 2 people asked specifically to have copies of the painting, right? But in that space, when we get to that really uncomfortable place of, you know, so what is our collective responsibility to self and each other? People in there had to get to a place of not finding themselves at that parent pupil teacher conference where they are at the table sitting next to ICE, and they have the shell shock moment of, oh my God, I'm sitting here with ICE. But before they even get that piece of paper that puts them in the place where they will be in the room, right? Because we very often talk about, you want to be in the room, get in the room, you know, just get a seat at the table, get a seat at the table, get a seat at the table. But we often aren't prepared for the table, because our idea is that this table is a table of equity. And it's not only a table of equity, but it's a table of equity surrounded by people who care and want to create equity. And some of them may be ignorant, and some of them might not understand equity in the ways that we do, but oh, guess what? They're going to have us at that table. And once our voice is there, we'll be heard, and it will be here. In this specific workshop and in this specific training, there was the place where, David, I don't know if you saw people struggling with that. I saw people really struggling with that.
Oh my gosh, yes. Oh my goodness. And that was is with like what you considered like those pregnant pauses, right? And so, you know, you saw folks that would struggle with, well, you know, this is with the expectation of, hey, I'm especially, you know, the woman who was talking about the legal matters that she was going into, and it became this this monopolized discussion on, she kind of like hijacked the discussion on, oh, well, this is where we're going. Now, it was good because it showed light onto like what injustices were taking place there. But at the same time, it was kind of like this, it was very, there were some Karenisms within there, if you will, where it's just like, hey, you know, okay, we see what's going on here, but I know that you're affected by it, and you're kind of shedding light on how others are. But there was one woman from, I believe she was from India or from Bangladesh, and she talked about, she kicked open the door at one point, because she talked about her, I think it was her job, her being at school with, and I believe it was either elementary or middle school that she worked at. And she discussed how she would go to heat up her food, and it would goes around her. And so it really it really shed light onto how insensitive or hypersensitive at times, depending on which side you're, which perspective you're looking at it from, on how, you know, we're just like, oh, you should just bow down, or you should just go and conform to what is acceptable. amongst smells and amongst like, you know, your area, right? And that's white supremacy, right? You know, if we're talking about being like a melting pot of different areas, different people, different cultures, then, you know, there should be one, some curiosity, right? And two, at the very least, you shouldn't be offended by someone's cuisine that they're bringing over from their original culture, right? And so she was in tears during that time. So that was something that I wanted to like emit in there. That's why in the PCC, like the red pill and the blue pill, right? Like which option, you know, Kimura, when you talk about sitting a seat at the table and being prepared for that, I think that's what it's like. You're gonna be forced to face these different dynamics where that conversation needs to be had, and get used to being uncomfortable if you really want to push forward, right? So yeah, it was crazy. It was wild.
It was good. But that and when that woman, and that was one of those beautiful places. Khalik, we will see you in a bit. You know that we're we're not auctioning, we're raffling off one of your bags. So that will be happening shortly. We'll see you when we see you shortly. But in there is this place where there were beautiful human beings who were in there being very, very well intentioned. And this woman was sharing a very real experience of othering that was affecting her, that affected a whole lot about her. And the professor and the folks in there trying to make it better said, "Oh, but your food smells delicious," right? And that was a gift. That piece of ignorance was such a gift. And it was beautiful to David. It was, that's where I love watching stuff unfold, because at that point we were at the place where it was nice to just kind of sit back and allow the other folks in the room to share how that was othering and not seeing this woman and choosing to, you know, the persona that says I'm all encompassing and all loving, this persona that you're trying to share is doing nothing more than driving a bigger wedge up in here and pushing us apart. And if folks didn't hear David say, you know, one of the things that's in the painting, if you didn't see it, there's a red pill and blue pill. Of course, I got me an amazing interpretive, empathic healing artist who's going to get some Matrix references in there because duh, right?
Got to.
Okay. I don't know, Neo, Trinity, they're all kind of awesome. But we're here. So I told you we've got 24 new members, right? And so David, you pulled up your flash. Do you have Swift? Do you have that on a flash that you could pull up?
I of course do. Would you like me to share?
I would love to, because we're about to give it to someone right now, because you're awesome.
Yeah. Right here. Can everyone see that okay?
Beautiful.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much, Natasha. So yeah, so this is the piece that I did over at Swift. And so before you know, I had a chance to go on to the North End, which I love. It keeps on calling me back. The North End of Hartford has been calling me back since I first moved to Connecticut, right? And even a little bit prior to that, when I was, you know, I'm a Springfield native, right? So the North End is very near and dear to my heart, right? And so when I had the opportunity to join, I'm like, wait a second, this sounds familiar. And then the building like jumped out to me, and I'm like, holy mackerel, this makes perfect sense. So there was a really nice brunch that was taking place there. And right, so what I love about art is, and especially depending on your environment, right, it brings out so many different emotions. Wow. So as you could tell, the last piece that we just saw with passive resilience, that was a little bit darker, right? This one is very bright, right? I was around just like a lot of warm-hearted folks. I mean, I had Isaiah with me who was critiquing me and egging me.
Isaiah was critiquing the heck out of it.
So he was holding me to task, right? Talking about holding each other accountable, right? So him and another young king, they were anchoring me down, letting me know, like, hey, what if you have this in there? Oh, and so I bounce off them like, hey, do you see this in here? What does this building look like that's in the middle? And so they're like, oh, that kind of looks like a heart. I'm like, all right, cool. You get it, right? So the north end, I like to consider it as being like the heart of Hartford, right? It's where we have like these rich personalities, and people coming from different backgrounds, that come together, and you can feel that love that's there, right? And so when I was staged pretty much over by a window. So over to the right, there's two buildings, the white building and the brown multiplex, right? Where I was like, just staring at, and I was studying. So that right side demonstrates like pretty much like the building of a community, right? I imagine that within there's multi-generations. Hopefully, there might even be like multiple ethnicities that like live within, a building, right? And so I was just kind of drawn into the idea of community and people coming together. And so you have these bricks that are forming, and that what you see hovering right above the table in between those two buildings are bricks that are right within the Swift, right? So I wanted to kind of make the outside and the inside one being, right? So that we don't have these walls that separate us from, one, who we are, and two, how we connect with each other, right? And so then in the forefront, there's what was pretty much being served as like one of the appetizers, right? I couldn't indulge too much because when I start painting, it is my food, right? And I really feed off of my environment and those around me, right? So I'm like, what's going to be on this menu? What do I feel? What's going on? So on the menu, there's love, there's peace, and then what we often talk about within KCC, and whenever I'm participating as a healing artist, is humility, right? And so I have this hunger for humility, right? Will you step outside of yourselves to really listen to those, play bingo? I'm hearing things going on and seeing folks having a good time and connecting with each other, right? But do you have that desire to want to do better? Do you have that desire to want to see it from someone else's perspective, and also recognize where you are and where you're trying to go, or where you come from, right? And kind of having that reconciliation within yourself so that you can, genuinely connect with others, right? And so fruit often brings that, right? It's, from the earth. I would have, let me see, just about, think a few things on there. They're like alkaline based, right? You got the water, you got the melons that are in there, right? And so then on the flip side of that, there's what the Swift came about, right? So when I did my history on, it being a guild, like it was one of those factories that was heavily into like textiles and like gold, I believe. That's correct, right, Kimura?
Yep, yeah, the gold leaf. They were, I want to say like they did more gold leaf than anyone else in New England. Yeah.
Yep. And so I wanted to have like the foundation of the plant being like really natural, right? So you see like the green leaves, but then you have that gold leaf that comes hovering over. What I, envisioned was it kind of sprinkling down and raining down for like a resurgence in the economic cycle to, okay, well, it was a symbol of of luxury, right? With gold leaf. can we have some of that luxury rain down on these communities, right? On the North End, right? We're already this rich in spirit, but let's really, make sure that it's gonna open up cooperative spaces and spaces for small businesses in order to recycle that, right? And really build it into something new. And so that's why there's like, Purple's Mountains Majesties like in the back here. So I really tried to like incorporate a neo-surrealism kind of perspective that ties in what the community stands for, but then also bring in symbolism and dreams on like what is in the fabric of our nation, right? And so that's kind of all tied in together, and that creates this this piece here. And so it was a gorgeous day. It was really nice, but then just like the beauty of how people were interactive and the liveliness. I think in one of the flyers that Kimura shared, it showed folks as they were like coming up and like asking about what was going on in the piece, and then largely just what I do as an artist. But I was curious about what they do, like what brought them there, right? And and what they may want to see voiced within this piece. So you have like a building that's turning into like a book back there that's kind of the pages are coming out and it's spreading like that knowledge, but also folks' history, right? And so that's what the brunch at Swift stands for here.
And it was, yeah, thank you, David. It was an amazing, beautiful day. And that painting is now framed. And when we give it to whoever's name I'm about to pull out of here, we'll get a picture of them with it. It's gorgeous. And here I thank you all. So the names that are in here, this is everyone who's joined the KCC since November 1st. And there are people who joined on Patreon here. There are folks who joined through that regular $50, $75, $100 thing. And then there's where I have all, yeah. So then there's the folks who come to our Thinking and Doing days and came to our community conversation. So all the interesting, wonderful ways that you can join and be a part of this. 24 new people, and that's like, people have renewed their subscriptions as well. Like, yo, thank you. This is it, right? Thank you. So this is, let me do it like this, because this is, I hate this part. I hate this part so much, but let's see who gets this. Okay, it's gonna be this person. It's going to be Rex Fowler. So Rex Fowler, Rex, I'm gonna send you an email. And so Rex Fowler gets the painting, which is beautiful. And then, yeah, and Rex is awesome. So we're gonna go directly, honestly, and this is kind of fun. So we're gonna go directly from Rex to Sterling Street and turning that space into the land trust. And part of how we're going to do that is I'm pulling together the board, right? And if anyone would like to be a part of the advisory board that's going to steward Sterling Street as this beautiful land trust, get in touch with me. We need you. And Rex Fowler is, he's the head of the Hartford Loan Fund, right? And I invited him to be a part of this, to be a part of this group, because I need his brain. His brain thinks way differently than mine. And we both, again, so when we talk about what is it, the KCC definition of community that just fell off of my lap, so I can't quote it verbatim. But we're not seeking to create a community of everyone who's like got groupthink going, right? But we're creating a community of people who have a same end goal, a similar end goal, a similar worldview. And I know that Rex loves Hartford and definitely has a very fond place. Like he loves the North End and believes that the North End of Hartford believes in an economic empowerment and supporting the North End of Hartford in ways that don't line up with the way that I do. But again, this end ultimate goal of Hartford for Hartford to love and care for Hartford. So I sent him an invitation and he sent me back the most lovely, beautiful email explaining that, and just explaining that because of the questions that he was, and starting off with, like he did, starting off with a litany of financial questions that I don't know, but starting off with that, maybe he isn't the person who I want to work with. And from there, I made it quite clear, no, because of this, you know, I don't need people on this who agree with me. I don't need people who are going to sit back and be like, Kamora's amazing, she's got this, whatever you say, yes. And I also don't need people who completely share my vision, because my vision is amazing, but I know that it's holes. And I know that my vision is amazing for the people who think and are like me, and for the people who are not like me, who I have the ability to think about and like. But guess what? I ain't God. And so I'm missing a lot. And so my grand vision needs the pushback and the love and the tug and pull of folks who I don't completely agree with and who don't agree with me, and all of that good stuff, right? So going into the purchasing and the acquisition of that land, we need to get this done now. So the land trust, they're doing everything they need to do. They're buying a little bit more time. So the landowner, Terry, wants the money today. Land trust is working to get us a few more months. And I need this group to start working towards that and being a part of making it happen so that we own it. And in April, we're having another dinner like the dinner that we had. If everyone remembers, we had that dinner back in April of last year when we had Matt and Tia from Rayford Farms come up and paint, or they didn't come up and paint. I'm looking at David like, yeah, David, you painted that one too. Don't worry. So that painting, David, that painting is going to be dollars. Okay, let me explain that one, right? And so this painting today was Faith. And the painting that you created at the dinner last year at the dinner, that's Faith as well. And that one is going to be auctioned off, and that's going to at the next dinner this year as bringing in that cooperative economics. And that's what that is. But if you want to talk a little bit about the dinner, so David and Leah, you were at the dinner as well. If you want to tell us just a little bit about what that was. And then, because for that, next thing is we got Matt and Tia's book. So talk a little bit about what dinner was, and then another person's going to get a book.
Sorry, Leah, did you want to take over for what the dinner?
Go ahead. No, go ahead. Explain.
So I'll kick it off. I'll try to be as succinct as possible. So, you know, it was another extravagant event. But this time, it took place, you know, right there on Sterling Street, which was awesome. So I got a chance to really hear about, you know, what, right? So talking about cooperative economics, one thing that I'm personally curious about is how we can utilize capitalism, right? And capital period in different facets, right? So in exercising what it looks like for everyone to share a piece of the community or piece of land that goes back into the community is something that I'm super intrigued about. And I think that this is going to be like one of those ideas that hopefully gets iterated in different places. But this is like a supreme foundation to, like, you know, when Kamora was explaining it, and I forget the young lady that was there that was kind of explaining about what goes into a trust, right? And how this vision can take place. But I'm like, okay, well, in my mind, right, I'm like, somebody's got to like own the joint. It's like somebody's got to like do it, or like a few people. And it's like, no, it can be set up. And Kamora, you know, you could correct my mixing of words, but it's essentially an area that is of the community, and it doesn't really, it's like a historical, it's being set up as a historical space so that it's going to feed off of itself, right? And then we, you know, will be shepherds of that area to make sure that it's taken care of, right?
Yeah.
And so it's super intriguing. And, you know, just talking about like our roots and getting close to our soil, right? Being loyal to the soil, if you will, right? You have, you know, Tia and Kamora's connection, but then also, you know, Matt, who it was great because Matt had a whole bunch of jokes coming from the south side of CT, right?
He
And
did Bridgeport.
Yeah.
Like we
Two
hear
oh
about
three,
Bridgeport.
right.
Love
So
Bridgeport.
it was cool just fielding in you know, these conversations and then like the vision, right? So they introduced, and so mind you, I largely have had like a plant-based diet for maybe the past like 3 years or so, right? But I mean, what I smelt there, what they brought in was it was extraordinary. And then they introduced me to these like hybrid like plants and vegetables, or just like seeds that I never even heard of, right? And so in the center, thank you so much for sharing this, Kimora. In the center is a corn that they described. I came together and I was taking notes while I was painting, right? And then I had to like double back for some of the items that they mentioned, that I'm like, well, they mentioned stuff that I never even like heard of that comes from the earth, right? And so the wine was flowing. And so that's what you see here in the corner here. There was like, it was just a beautiful setup underneath like a heated tent, with beautiful souls coming together. And I really wanted to showcase what we put into the earth is what we take out of the earth, right? And so we have to be able to nurture nature for what it is, and then it will do that back to us, right? And so if we treat it kind, it will do the same thing right on back to us. So, I have like the yams or the sweet potatoes, like over to the right. I have, the great, just like natural elements of like the cuisines that we were eating, and then that we're accustomed to eating, right? And so that's why you see like the prayer hands down in the center there, but then right above it is like cement, right? So still keeping in mind, and there's cracks in the cement, right? But between the cracks and then also the roots seeping down into what, as long as we have faith in that we treat each other well, when we treat nature, in kind, we'll, have plentiful ways where we can all share and we can all eat, right? And so you have like the garden beds that you can see there in the sanctuary. There on Sterling, and then you have some of the houses that surround the area there as well. So it was like a beautiful sunset that was taking place. So that was like the first thing that I captured, and then I went in from there. We talked about like the hibiscus, right? And so that's why it's kind of is at the center, and it's the focal point, and then you have like this hybrid of a corn. I forgot the name of that damn thing, but
Some kind of
red
green
CP.
corn.
What is it?
yeah.
The green corn, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know, but they grew it at Firing Farm this summer. So Nancy and Aaron had it growing out there. They were the people who were sitting at the table right next to you while you were painting over there.
Nice. Yeah, but it was a really dope event. I didn't have a chance to, I was smelling everything, but like I was like even at Swift, I was getting fed off a conversation, talking to folks, and just really having a good time capturing the moment. So Lee, I'm not sure if you can recall like a favorite dish that was taking place there.
Well, definitely the red CP hummus. That was amazing.
Yeah.
I could have taken it all home. I think some of the brilliance of the event and the way Kimora coordinates it and puts it together is it's all these people, and all of them have something super important and integral that we need there and in that space, and they should all be investing, and they're all so vastly different but brought together over this land. And what the event really does is it touches every single one of your senses, like sight, smell, touch, like you were on there, you were at the earth, and taste, like we got to eat the food and talk about the red CP and the heritage garden and what that really is, and how we're going to teach about our history in the diaspora and stuff like that through this, while being all seated there together with all the minds to get the best of the ideas. And so it was an amazing experience. It was incredibly rich conversation, and all the right people were there that we need to see it for that night. You know, these people should be caring and investing, and until you immerse them in all their senses, and that's it. That's exactly what happened that night. And I think I could see like Papas running around in the background of that painting, I think.
Yeah, you have no idea. I was looking at, so, okay, let me do this again, because let me just share right here. So how do this share? Pow. Yeah, so there is, looking at this, looking at the, in the apartment buildings that, the over on the right side, but the yellow apartment building all the way on the left there. Yeah, Papas and Dynasty live up in there. And I was thinking about Dynasty, honestly, looking at this.
Yeah, that they're exactly who I thought, but like, yeah, being able to be out there, see the earth, touch the earth, smell it. We were outside in what like April, so it was chilly still. We had heaters in that tent, but just being able to be on the land, and this is what the land is for. You know, the work happens outside of it, but this is the playground where we bring all the minds and the people and the folks together, and we do that, and we build that community, and we share the ideas, and you know, connect.
Yeah.
And so it was a beautiful, like, kind of kickoff to the year of what the land really is doing and can do.
That's I mean, so folks who've been around for a while know that back when we were at True Colors for the holidays, I was all about donate a memory, right? So keep your games, keep your toys, keep your stuff. We don't want your stuff. We want your memories. So we want gift cards to theater events. We want gift cards to movies. We want stuff so that we can go out to eat, but we want things that are going to bring us together and build community, right? So what is it that we need to get together? These things. And so I'm thinking about, like, when we auction this painting off, we've got to have an actual physical print that we give to Dynasty. So Dynasty was, you know, like, there's all the babies and all the beauty and all of the magic, right? The magic happens daily. But Dynasty, back in April when we were doing this, Dynasty stood across the street and watched us. She's an 11-year-old little girl across the street. She either stood across the street and watched us, or she stood at the fence and yelled at her little brothers, who had no problem running into our space and doing whatever the hell they wanted to. But she would stand there and kind of little mom and tell them to come back. And the day of this event, she was out there little momming and telling them to come back, and making it quite clear, you know, without interacting with her. And Hartford people and people who deal with marginalized people, we all know Dynasty, right? So she wasn't going to engage with me. She wasn't going to engage with a single adult there, but it's very important to her that all of the adults saw that she was telling her brothers what they were doing was wrong, because she knew how to act right? And it took a while for her to join us. I think it was maybe around Memorial Day that she came over and joined us, and still was policing, you know, still making it quite clear that she knew what the rules were and they didn't. And we had all the fun little pushbacks. I'm like, of course they can take this. Of course we can. No, they can't do that. But this is what we do. And we share, and Papa's, like her little brother Papa's. If anyone came to the land this summer and a child sent you to Popeyes and you left and you came back with Popeyes for a child who you've never met before in your life, it was Papa's. We're sorry. We would have said something if we knew. It happens a few times, right? But Dynasty was in there getting it and doing the work with me. And so know that on weekdays when I would wake up and go over to the land by myself, she would be there with me as we were doing everything, helping with the stepping stones and such, and learning what we were doing. So when it was time for the Trinity kids to come, it was Dynasty. I got a couple bus loads of those people, right? The smart people. And if you're Hartford, and if you've ever been marginalized, you know what we think about Trinity people, right? We can roll our eyes and talk about how privileged and all that other good stuff is, but when it comes here, they're better than us and they're smarter than us, right? So honestly, when it comes to us really addressing what it is that we're dealing with, this beautiful young woman who has been stepping in our space and helping people make these garden stepping stones with these beautiful rocks and do all of this great stuff. The Trinity kids are coming, and I make it quite clear, okay, we're going to be, you know, those really cool birds that we have that Ann Cooperly made for us over at Nightfall. Now we've got them, we can play with them. I need to have a thing for these people to do, right? Because they're going to get here. We're going to do introductions. Okay, you know how we do introductions. So Dynasty, I need you to be a part of the introductions. But then there's going to be a thing that they need to do. And you know how to make the birds. And so I need you, and in Dynasty, so David, going back to what it looks like in all the trainings, Dynasty, you're an 11-year-old girl from Hartford who lives on this street. The people coming here have ideas for you, and a whole lot of it is they feel sorry for you and don't know how incredibly amazing you are. They are going to be here, going to school, learning how to work with us. And I need them on day one to know that you are amazing and that you have everything to offer. And your deficit is space and age, because we're going to look at this environment in this area, and we need them to understand that the beautiful, amazing goddess that you are is not allowed to thrive because of everything that goes on around here. And a place where your voice is not going to be respected at all is you're an 11-year-old child. And we all understand an 11-year-old child is not to be respected. So your job, my darling, is to just go over the rules, because we're going to play bingo. You played bingo. Okay, bingo. You played bingo a whole bunch of times. So your job is like, just do the rules of bingo. Allow them to ask you questions, ask questions. You know how we ask, you know the 5 whys, you know how we do that. Do that. And then afterwards, build birds. And she did that. And she went and she showed them how to build the birds. And we had bird parade going on around the land forever. And then Carol Carrera from Trinity, very nice, invited us to come out to dinner that night, and invited Dynasty to come. And Dynasty, we left Sterling Street and we went downtown to a downtown restaurant and had dinner with Trinity people, where people got to thank Dynasty for what she did and ask her questions and follow-up questions, right? So, and you can do like I've been doing this work for a long time. I can say, like the grant reporters, we need some stories, but you can't base a whole program on one person. Dude, yes, I can. Yes, I motherfucking can. Yes, I can. I understand ripples. I understand 7. I understand this earth. I understand what we are here for. And a beautiful little girl is stepping into herself through our space, right? And not even just through our space, but through areas that were created. Because Carol, at the end of the day, Carol didn't need to invite that child. And if you know Carol Carrera, right? Like there's that light-skinned and curly-haired lady thing, right? There's that black lady thing. There's a thing. Carol's the one over at Trinity. She's the one who her mission in life is to figure out how to do that campus community connection, and she does it beautifully. And I created a space where she could walk in her light and her path and her truth, because her connection to Dynasty was another important connection. And the things that she said to Dynasty about, again, like know your place. Like, what is it that I do? Know your place. I am not the person who can tell an 11-year-old child how to get their butt into Trinity in order to like flourish in that way. That's not Kamora's job. That's Carol's job. That is literally Carol's job and her passion and her life's work. And she connected with that child and said the things that she needed to say to her. And again, they're both Latino women. Dynasty is Black and Latina. Carol's Black and Latina. They've got that, like, dude, create the place where the things that are supposed to happen can happen, and then the boom happens.
And the difference in the year, Cam, and how she grew was incredible. By the end of the season in October, she was an authority on what happens over there.
And not that pain in the ass pretending authority. Not that junior staff crap.
She knew what to do. She knew her role, and she loved welcoming people and inviting them, letting them know what was being a hostess. That's kind of what I mean. Like, she was the ultimate hostess, and like greeting people and letting them know what was up and what was going on and where they could find it and who they should ask. She knew. She
had ultimate patience for everyone but her brothers. But Evie, you just shared the beads. Do you want to talk a little bit about it? Because again, like, this is what we do. My child needed money. She wanted some money. I don't have a lot of money to give people. Evie, so what happened?
She was
oh yeah, so actually let me see if I could show you.
I still have mine too.
I've got mine.
Yeah, I've got a couple of them, but yeah, these are the ones she sold me. A couple other ones snapped on me. One of them in Matt Rither's office.
Oops.
And she was so happy to sell me the beads. Like, you have no idea. I'm sitting here and I'm like, I had just paid bills. I think I had just pumped gas, and like, it's the Ukrainian invasion, but she brings these beads, and I had been looking for the beads, and then she's like so proud of these beads, and I'm sitting here and I'm like, oh my God, I gotta sell, like my Bitcoin on Cash App. I'm gonna get these beads. And she was so happy to sell me the beads, and I was so happy to buy them from her, because this girl just absolutely loves the land and the work being done. And yeah, she's just a great kid. So she's learned a lot. And I mean, I've learned a lot from Dynasty too. I think we all have. So it's kind of nice when you go into more spaces. And it's like, yes, Moore's the leader, but there's a lot of youth involvement and engagement as well. So, kids feel listened to as well there.
Yeah, and with all of us here, let me just go into the added bonus of Dynasty. So when Mom finally made it over to meet us, and we got to meet mom's girlfriend, and we were like, whoa, you got, because Dynasty had been asking for rainbows.
We were like,
I think,
what?
like,
You were like, wait, what?
had we given her a rainbow? I think we'd given her a rainbow flag or something by then, but it just turned into gotcha. All of a sudden, a whole lot of stuff made sense. A whole lot of stuff fell in, and we had,
I
yep,
can't wait till next year.
the amazing lesbian family with their, I don't know, just queer. I don't think, yeah, just queer, just all of it, all the rainbows, all the everything.
Then they were cooking and sending food over for the sleepover.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Dynasty, like, so for her first camp out ever, she camped out and slept alone in a tent. She had
Mhm.
that, she had the blue tent all to herself, had it all set up. She was fine. Okay.
Mhm.
So Brass and them second Raffle.
Oh, can I explain why that is?
Yes.
So I've got a lot of boys in my family.
Yes. you
So
do.
Dynasty being able to sleep alone without her brothers bothering her, that was definitely it. And I'm telling you that as someone who has many brothers. Hug your brothers now while you still have them, but they're gonna drive you nuts when you're a kid.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, you are so right. But she wasn't too happy about, like, she was ready for them not to. And that was that funny place, because she was like, they're too young. They can't spend the night, can they? You need to tell my mother that they can't sleep over. Well, we'll see. They ended up they didn't sleep over the first night. They did sleep over the second night, right? So the second night we had the RV of children. That was kind of fun. Yeah. And honestly, wait, that was Dynasty because we were only going to sleep over one night. So again, this young person spending her KCC time sitting up with me alone during the day and all of this, decided that we should so first off, she decided early in the season that we should do a camp out. And it took a bit, okay, yeah, we're going to do a camp out. Here's when it is. We're going to do this. She thought that was great. But then she realized and understood immediately that one night wasn't enough. And decided to tell me one night wasn't enough. I was like, well, we could. And so she asked me, why not? Don't have enough food, not sure about the weather, all of the reasons why possibly we couldn't. And, everyone here is committed to one night. No one here is committed to two. My girl went and caucused and campaigned around our entire campsite and got families and mothers with children to say, yeah, right. You see Lynn and July, like, this is
We were there. Yeah.
We were there.
if this is not a natural born advocate, activist, leader, organizer, because
Amen.
the only reason why we slept out the second night is because that child went in different organizing and came back to me when she knew she had all her fucking votes. She didn't come to me when it was possibly wavering in any kind of way. She had all of her votes. Everyone was voting for a different thing, but the different thing that everyone was voting for was going to get her another overnight, another camp out, and she got that. So we did our second sleep out, and it was awesome.
Real quick question. Can I be assigned to do the popcorn next year for you guys?
You don't want to burn it again?
Oh, no, I got this because I'd rather you guys not burn the popcorn. I think I got this.
Yeah, because how does burn popcorn even make outside stink, right? Like, I understand when you burn popcorn in the kitchen that your kitchen stinks, but how do you make a whole outside stink from burnt popcorn?
Oh no,
I don't know.
that was something special.
That was a lot. Okay, so Brass and them, Matt's book that has all of the delicious food that we ate last year. And I don't know if all the food that we eat this year is going to come out of this one again, but Brass and them is going to. Oh man, I'm glad that I'm recording this because again, I already forgot who it was who got the first one. But
Rex Fowler.
Rex. Oh,
hey, Rex. Okay, and this is boogers. Okay, so the book is someone named Reese who is on Patreon. So Reese, I'm gonna send you a message there because I've got your email address and then we'll get the rest of your email. But I know your first name is Reese and I know your email address and I've got you on Patreon.
Excellent.
This is you, right?
Yay, Reese.
Reese, right? Okay, and then two other things. Just and this is so I could remember all the good stuff that we've got to talk about and such. But Lynn, another young person who's just started working with us, she's creating herbal blends. Teas, also smokable herbal blends, lavender and such. And again, just like with so many of us and our folks, she's figuring out who she is, what she wants to do, and she's figuring out And she created a tea, worked for her. She thought it was awesome. She started marketing it. She's also a visual artist. David, at some point, she's going to come in and be a healing artist and start doing some of this work with us. So we've got her. Yep. Oh yeah. Yeah. And again, she's like 2018 graduate of New Britain High School. She came, she's vended at a few of our events over on Sterling Street, right? And there's that affinity, right? I'm like, I like this kid talking and such. And then she came to the community conversation that we had at the mansion, and she's we, and she's us. And it's like, oh yeah, this is like you say, like, oh yeah, there's a reason why you're here. And honestly, on that day, there's a reason why she was there that day and ready to talk that day, because the man who works on the printing press over there, oh my goodness, amazing, this brilliant. And again, just so he's the guy who makes t-shirts, right? So it's really cool to have the guy who makes t-shirts there. And then we start talking, he's like, well, let me explain to you the importance of the printing press, and definitely the importance of the printing press and sharing information and knowledge. And then it went there. Yeah, beautiful, right? So let's see, we've got, oh wait, is this Erin? Actually,
Yeah,
is that
I got
Erin?
it. Yep.
Yeah. Cool. Let's see if she decides to put her what do you call it, camera on, since we're talking about the conversation that we had over at the mansion. Hello, Erin. Are you here?
Hi, I'm here.
You got great timing, because we're getting ready to let's see. So we're about to grab bag raffle off the Lynn's Blends teas. But I was talking a little bit about the community conversation that we had over at your space.
Oh, yep.
Yep. So you want to tell us a little bit about your space? And again, this is where I'm a bad person. We were talking about printing press person. I cannot think of his name. I can tell you a whole lot about him.
Oh,
What
okay.
is his name? And let's talk.
His name is Mike.
Mike's
He's the
awesome.
t-shirt wizard. Mike is awesome. He's like he has a couple silk screen presses. So like any logo you can come up with. And I was going to say, like, I definitely want to do Kimuras. And if he can find a way to like make money off the shirts, you don't even have to pay to get them done, which is really nice. So he also, I mean, he makes shatter, he makes like everything you could imagine, but like really, like as far as art and printing goes, like he's got it all. He's just this little like magical elf that lives in Manchester, and he's set up here right now, but we have to take it down. But yeah, like he's got, if you can think of a logo, he can make it happen.
Excited. Honestly, I can't wait to get him at the fire and just talk. He's awesome.
Me too. I know he's kind of shy. You have to like pull him out of his shell a little bit, but he is. And I've been working here in Hartford, trying to like keep things somewhat busy and hoping to like schedule some stuff. I don't have anything scheduled for January, February, so open to whatever.
Oh, we got a February. We're going to talk about February. The February is coming. Awesome.
Okay.
Yeah. So the tea blend, we're going to raffle this off, and tea, I've got, where is it? Is it over here? Got a few different ones. But years ago, I've got a brother, John, who some of you may know, some of you don't, but he was in the United Arab Emirate, and he got me a necklace with a little teapot, which you can't see it all here. But it's this beautiful thing. The teapot represented friendship, because when we get together with friends, we sit, we talk, we spend time together, we drink tea. And so therefore, wearing a teapot, giving someone a teapot token, giving someone a teapot is a token of friendship and a way of saying, let's have conversation. So with this one, we're sharing Lynn's tea, which is awesome and wonderful, but this one comes with a labyrinth walk with me. And it's like, I don't even know how to say that without sounding just like, come walk with me, but dude, come walk with me, right? So, because I need a labyrinth walk too. But so whoever we pull out here, if you're a human who can make it to Hartford, so and like I said, some of these folks here are Patreon people, but if I pull you, and you're gonna get the tea, and if you can make it to Hartford, then we'll figure out a time when you and I can go walk the labyrinth together and talk and do all that good stuff. Okay, so this one is Jennifer Crookes-Carpenter. So Jen, we get to go walk the labyrinth and drink tea. So we got that.
Yay, Jennifer.
Yay.
And let's see. So that's,
I'm so excited.
I am too.
I can't wait. I just got to the store, so it was like the wrong moment for me to like show my enthusiasm, but I can't wait. I can't wait to rock the t-shirt. We're gonna do our Labyrinth walk. You're gonna hear all my thoughts, and I'm gonna hear all your thoughts.
I love it. This is like last year there was a group that hired me because like self-care for me, I'm not good at that, but there's a group that hired me to facilitate their book club. And at our first meeting, I had to say, thank you so much because you gave me this gift of work that said like these 3 novels, like novels that I wanted to read. I got to read and I got to start my day with like, well, this is work, and just sat and read. So that was nice. So this will be fun. This will be good. And going back to the work, Natasha.
Goodbye, everybody. I have to leave.
Oh, boogers. I was going to ask you to share if you knew what the art cinema was, because we're getting ready to talk about the art cinema, and I figured you'd be the only one here who could talk about that. But
I don't really know that much about the art cinema anymore. It was too many years ago.
okay, well, we will see you soon. You're going to be down here, what do you say, January?
February for the coronation.
Okay, great.
Oh, coronation.
And they're
Yes.
doing more public things for coronation now too. There's like gonna
Yes,
be
they are.
more community stuff for folks.
Yes.
Okay, yeah. And we'll be talking about that. So people who don't know what coronation is, Imperial Sovereign Court of Connecticut will be having their coronation in February. You're gonna be hearing about it. It's gonna be awesome.
We are inaugurating our 2 new emperors. We're having dual emperors this year, and they're married partners.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
They are awesome.
Who is
And
it?
they're in the leather community. George Michael Hicks and Mark Richard Stevens.
Okay.
Mark.
Yep.
Very busy in
Awesome.
the community, a lot of work.
Yo,
Coronation.
I'm so happy I've kept all of these coronation books because the look and feel of everything changes and grows, and it's beautiful.
I have doctor's appointments, so I'll see you guys later.
Take care, Natasha. See you soon.
Bye.
Talking about burning, going back to popcorn, there was the Harry Potter year that Leah, you know exactly.
It was
They did
amazing.
coronation. Coronation is over the top, like drama queens. You take a whole bunch of gay philanthropists and put them in space with a whole bunch of drag queens, and then put them in competition with groups of these throughout the entire country, with this idea being that your coronation needs to be more beautiful and overboard than everyone else's coronation. And then you do a Harry Potter theme and you try to burn everything down. Was it the floating candles that caught on fire? What caught on fire?
No, because those are made out of PVC that pipe in like little like battery operated tea lights. It was, they had an incense thing, kind of like, you know, like a church incense thing. And they were walking down the aisle in this procession in the start, and it's all Harry Potter themed out. But right in front of our table, it like came apart on the ground. And so the lit incense was in the carpet smoldering, and you have all these drag queens in highly flammable clothing trying to put out all these little fires in the carpet. It was amazing.
Yeah, they didn't get the deposit back that year.
No, we did not get it back that year.
And I, of course, had like gone to the bathroom at that moment because the procession takes forever. Coronation is like a work day. But I'd gone to the bathroom and I come back in to like the people are pouring water on the ground, there's smoke everywhere. Yeah. What I missed.
And it was right in front of our table too. It was amazing.
But again,
oh, we got that.
Huh?
I said we
Yeah,
have the cleat thing to do too. Don't forget the cleat.
Yep. And saying this is where it all comes together fun, because going back to Natasha had to leave and we're bringing up the art cinema and representation and such, right? Because very often in the work that we do, which is humans working with humans in whatever way that is, we learn that providers have an idea of this is what the right client looks like. And when the client looks like this and acts like this, we can meet them. And in order for a client to be able to be worked with, they need to meet us where we are, right? And that doesn't always work. So we are in February, we're doing, we did a Black Art Heals premiere last year, and we did it at Trinity, or actually Ephraim did it up at Trinity. And that was a nice first one. This is gonna be the one that we all come to. And this is gonna be the one where we're stepping into community. Now, you know that the KCC is a membership organization, and you know that organizations and so organizations, businesses, groups that want to do this work join us as corporate members, community members, and we do that work here.
When I noticed.
Real quick. And we do all of the connecting work that we need to do. We do all of the training work that we need to do. And one of the things that people come to us for is for authentic community connections, right? And Ephraim and I have been talking about the right place to do this for a while. You know, we want it to be an actual movie theater, and we want it to be accessible and all the things. And Trinity is, of course, beautiful because they've got the big curtains and everything. And when it comes to our STD numbers here in Hartford, we suck, right? And we've got a whole lot of folks who are not being served in the ways that they should be served. And I get a lot of phone calls. And 2 weeks ago, it's interesting, I got a phone call from someone at CRT, and their job is to do HIV/AIDS outreach. And of course, as everyone who has to do this work, there's certain populations and groups of people who we will say, you know, marginalized, whatever, but people who organizations have a hard time connecting with.
Mhm.
And as we're talking about this, you know, we're talking about the T girls, right? We're talking about our trans girls here in Hartford and what their lives and realities look like very often, and what that, how they address those folks. And the response I got was, well, you know, that's why I'm talking to you, but we're open for everyone. We're open for everyone. We're open for everyone. We're open for everyone, right? So, okay, so what are you doing to reach out and let those people know that you're open for everyone? If you don't know what the arts theater is, what the art cinema is, look it up. The art cinema is the adult cinema here in Hartford. It's the place to go watch porn on a big screen. You should have been there last two Tuesday nights ago with me and Ephraim. It was a whole lot of fun to be standing in the couples only balcony with a movie happening. It's like the Babysitter something movie. I don't know, it's playing for 2 weeks, but discussing, you know, so like in front of the screen, there's enough space there that we can have a nice little Q&A, and we can stand there, and with the way the aisles go in the up here, all of that with big old vagina had to whoosh. I took a picture. When you guys see me in real life, I'll show it to you on my phone, because it was one of those surreal moments, right? This is what the work is. And also when we walk in, there's a lobby. And the lobby will feel, you'll feel like you're walking into 1978, and you might go, because you're gonna have to, right? But then when you walk beyond the lobby doors, there's a nice, a different lobby. And we'll be inviting people to come in and table there. Now, I spoke to a woman whose job, she's tasked to connect with communities who are affected by this. And definitely we were talking about the Black trans community. She doesn't know where to meet those folks. You know, over here, this art cinema on Thursdays, they've got T-Girl Thursday. You know, on every Thursday, any T-Girl can go up in there for free and hang out, watch a movie, hang out, do something else, hang out and not be cold. Lady at CRT didn't know that. As we do this work, okay, so last year, we stepped loudly into cannabis. Last year, we created spaces where folks who work with substance abuse had to understand, like, this is what's here, and this is what we're doing, right? And right now, so with doing this at the art, they're like, hey, I'm me. So like, I do enjoy the idea of people sitting up with each other and rolling their eyes and saying, of course, Camorra's is doing this at the X-rated theater. Of course, Camorra's, of course, right? Duh. So we're doing it at the X-rated theater for that piece. But to also remember and remind us that we are our community, right? So Trinity is beautiful and wonderful. And David, as we looked at that last painting, it's the ivory tower. And when we step up, and I get it, and it's nice, and believe me, of course I want to be legitimized. Do you know who I am? I want the world to say, Camorra, you are good enough. That's an important thing, right? And so having the documentary shown at Trinity in Cine Studio, which is such a beautiful place, is wonderful. And also having it shared over at the Art Cinema, where all my folks can go, and a whole bunch of folks who would never, ever, ever feel comfortable showing, unless they got that phone call from Grindr or the Backpage or whatever the heck it is that we're using right now, you know, because we all, let's not ignore that part. There's times when we can walk up onto Trinity campus when we get the call that way, but we're not willing to walk in through the front door, right? We don't feel like we belong in the front door. We're doing this over at the Art Cinema. And here, when we talk about tabling, and the few things I've sent out already, I've said they're tabling opportunities. think about this. So Tuesday night, so we're doing this on a Tuesday. Tuesdays, the art cinema is closed, right? So they make their money Wednesday through Monday in all of the interesting ways that they make money. But on Tuesdays, they're closed. We're charging $5. We're telling everyone's $5, but making it quite clear, hey, if you're a tea girl, if you show up on Thursdays for free, you can show up at ours for free. We're going to show our movie. We're going to do what we do. We're going to talk the way that we talk. Show up. And if somehow there's a, like, this is important because the conversation that I had, the numbers suck. The resources don't exist, you know, like for shits and giggles, create, just call 211 right now and say that there's a trans woman who you care about, who doesn't have lodging, who doesn't have food, who isn't safe, and see what's out there. There's nothing. And for some reason, many of the agencies out there are waiting for those folks to just show up. Now, when I just said, I want to be legitimized, I want to be seen as good enough, right? I hope some other people laughed at that, felt that, but I hope people felt that. I hope people here felt that. And now I want you to think about what it feels to feel that when the people, like, you're dying, you're not okay, you're not safe. And the people who are tasked with caring for you are saying, well, just show up, get to me and I'll be able to meet you where you are. I'll be able to understand you. I'll be able to understand your issue. How can I safely believe if you don't know where I am on Thursday nights because I might get paid and it's warm and dry? If you don't know that much about me, why should I step into your office and what do I think that you will know about me in that space? And how can I let any defenses down be any kind of safe? So I invite y'all. Tickets are on Eventbrite. They're only $5. We're doing this February 23rd. So get a ticket, show up. But that pushing and creating and you know, what is this privilege? This privilege of knowledge of self is when you understand who you are and how you are. Showing up at the art cinema on a Monday night with Ephraim walking there. And it was me and Ephraim. So we kind of looked like a straight couple, right? And people
Really?
who know,
Have you seen both of you?
yes, but still. We were walking into the art cinema and then like walked up into the couples only area. And we were not the only people in there. People were looking at us. And I caught myself, right? Because when we came out and we were talking to the man who runs the place, I did realize that I was talking a little bit louder, making it clear that we were there to like rent the space for an event going forward, right? So like there was that, like, I'm not a dirty lady in here watching X-rated movies. But go check out the art cinema. It's there, you know, like it's one of those, like, you don't know who you are until you get there. Well, Jennifer has 3 tickets, which is great. You know, you don't know who you are until you get there. And I found myself in there. I'm cool with sex. I'm cool with all it. Just so you know, we're here renting the space and what is the capacity and dot. But go check it out. It's on Franklin Avenue. And it still exists and it serves a purpose and it serves a need. And it might not be my purpose and it might not be my need, but it is. And I really hope that the person who I spoke to who called me decides to take me up on that and decides, so even if she doesn't table, that she comes. And even if that doesn't happen, I hope she questions why she's uncomfortable going to an X-rated movie theater that is the only space that I know that has a night dedicated to a group of people who she needs to connect with, right? So that's practicing cultural humility. And that's like, I don't even know. That's a whole lot of stuff. But sex, $25, Wednesday through Monday, go, you can watch it. And if you're a couple, you get to sit upstairs. You're not allowed to sit upstairs if you're not a couple. So that I've got a pair of tickets and Khalik. So if you know Khalik, he's one of our what do you call it, artists. He's there at all the bazaars. And if you work with me at some point, you've probably gotten one of his bags. And so we've got this bag, and this bag is going to come with a pair of tickets to Black Art Heals on February 23rd. So let's get back into the box. Yeah. See, I gotta do like this so I don't look, because I just saw names and I can't look at names, damn it all. Okay, so no one. Okay, that's just blank. That goes away. Damn it all, cut. Okay, so I cut all the papers together. That was like, okay. Violette. So Violette, this is going to be fun. So for those of you who know, Violette Haldane is a beautiful and amazing and wonderful woman who is a progressive and beautiful and fairly traditional West Indian woman. And as we do all the one, of course, I love it, dude. All the right people got all the right things. Of course, Rex got the painting that gives the story of where we're trying to go because Rex jumped into the fantasy with us. Of course, Violette got the tickets. They're going to say, hey, Violette, the dirty, nasty place, come hang out because beauty is going to be happening inside the dirty, nasty place. Ah, okay. So there we go. So Violette gets, and actually, honestly, so since it's Violette, that's a lie. She gets, so Violette, her organization is called Advocacy to Legacy. And when we talk about the asset-based community mapping done, those are by the young people in her program. And also when it comes down to the work that we do, and we talk about on the Patreon, that community education piece, know that the kids that she works with, that's the work that we do. We don't get paid. We show up, we do everything. You know, we take the kids. That is community education that if you support us on Patreon, you do this. So on this one, this is Violette gets the cute little bag and passes for her. So for all of the youth in her program, they'll be invited to come join us. And and then the other part of the community work that'll end up in here is Violette and I together will decide and discuss the wording and how she's going to share with the parents of these Black and West Indian children that they're going to go to a Black Art Heals film premiere at the Dirty Movie Theater over in the South End. Hilarity will ensue. Keep your eyes open. You know, successes and failures, and it all just gonna happen. We're gonna roll. Let's see how it goes. Yeah, I think everyone who knows Violette just in their head is like, it's not happening. Let's see. So this is it. So it is New Year's Eve. 2022 is just about done. Let's see. Let's see, what do I have coming up? I know on January 6th, I've got, so John Motley, folks who know John Motley, I don't know what silent auction he was at somewhere, but he was at a silent auction and he got himself a beautiful B&B in Southington. So on Friday the 6th, I'm going to go out there and we're going to retreat and write out a whole bunch of good stuff about workshops and trainings and stuff going forward. I've got that coming up and what we shared. But David, take care. Up, go. It's going to be 3 generations of Jackson men together.
True indeed. Yep. He's awaiting. But I'm glad that I got a chance to hear about the art cinema, because I'm going to take that right over to my dad's conversation. He does a lot of work in Hartford and did some HIV prevention, and so this will be right up his alley. So I'm going to let him know about this, and you know, hopefully some folks will be there on that Tuesday, the 23rd. So thank you so very much, and it's been an honor to be able to share my work and to see everyone today. And yeah, I look forward to joining again.
David, thank you. I'll see you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you. Take care, y'all. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays.
I love how it all works. I love how it all comes together.
Right.
So this is it. It's noon. Anyone got anything to add, share before we call it a day? Happy New Year. Thank you all for coming. And I will see you all in January. Members, I will see you all in 2 weeks. What's that, the 13th? I'll see you on the 13th at 10. Peace.
Bye.